Hello and welcome to this episode of The Big Picture. I'm your host, Anna Markiewicz, and before we get going with our well-beaten ideas, I'm going to plug the socials. You can find us at _The Big Picture on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on YouTube too. Just search for The Big Picture Podcast. Now it's time to introduce our wonderful panel. Now, we had some snappy intros for us all last time, but my team of writers have taken the last 2 weeks off, so I'll just introduce Ms. Jack Graham. Jack, how are you?
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. You know, you took all that sentence in one big breath and you get to leave it absolutely nothing. I'm a bit heartbroken, but I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to hear it. Next up, we have someone who has strong opinions, and unlike most people, we can back them up physically. It's Lewis. How you doing, Lewis?
Well, I'm good. I'm glad you're keeping the physical intimidation factor of my character alive, apparently. Although I don't have might struggle my opinion on this current topic, but we're teasing that. How are you, Adam?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. I thought we'd bring it back. I thought we didn't have that for a few weeks. People talk about how you're a really tough guy, so I thought I'd bring it back. You know, don't want the listeners to forget.
Yeah, just don't get too wide on Twitter because I'll just come after you.
Right. And actually, our next panelist, I've got some exciting news. He recently reached Diamond rank on Rocket League 2's. Can we have a round of applause for Rhys Cook?
Everyone else makes music right now, but I'm clapping. I'm clapping. Thank you. More, please, more. Come on. That was me again. Yep, thanks for that. Yes, I did recently hit Diamond and it was a big time coming, but you know, lost it the next day.
Right.
No, I gained it back. That's it. Anyway, you know, I think speaking of blue things, what a good topic we got this week.
Well,
yeah, but it's a question though. What's better, getting Diamond rank or being last week's Big Picture champion?
Well, I can honestly say I've been playing Rocket League since it came out on console 2016, and you know, Big Picture, great reward. So I'm gonna have to say, getting to's Diamond. I've been working for it. I don't care. I'm kidding.
How do we kick somebody that call?
That's my line.
You want me to get in the topic, Rhys, but I think you did forget there is another person in the podcast, and he's actually the People's Champion, and that's Stewart Fitzgerald. Stewart, how does it feel to be the People's Champion?
It feels good. Do you know, it feels better to have somebody else who has been playing Rocket League since 2016, because I've got that little established 2016. It's a lonely life. It's a lonely life.
Adam has it too.
I've got it as well, yeah.
Oh, ha, Jack, you've only got 2018.
Oh, you noob.
Shocking. But yeah, thanks, Adam, and thank you to everyone who voted. Very excited for today's topic. And Adam, I see you. I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I
too.
see you.
Right, I know that might be a bit of a hint, but just before we get on to the topic, I have a message for everyone. Gentlemen, you're not in Kansas anymore. You're on the Big Picture Podcast. Respect that fact every minute of every podcast. If you wish to survive, you have to cultivate a strong, original pitch. You got to obey the rules, the Big Picture rules. If you haven't worked out from that, the topic we're discussing this week is the film Avatar, created by James Cameron, released 2009, formerly the highest grossing film of all time at $2.79 billion before it was overtaken by Avengers Endgame recently. We'll get a quick synopsis. If you haven't seen the film, or you have, you just need a refresher. It was 2009 after all. When his brother is killed in a robbery, paraplegic Marine Jake Sully decides to take his place in a mission on a distant world of Pandora. The lens of greedy corporate figurehead Parker Selfridge's intentions of driving off the native humanoid Na'vi in order to mine the precious material unobtainium scattered throughout the rich woodland. In exchange for the spinal surgery that will fix his legs, Jake gathers knowledge of the indigenous race and their culture for the cooperating military unit spearheaded by gung-ho Colonel Quaritch, while simultaneously attempting to infiltrate the Na'vi people with the use of an avatar identity. When Jake begins to bond with the native tribe, it quickly falls in love with the beautiful alien Neytiri. The restless Colonel moves forward his ruthless extermination tactics, forcing aliens to take a stand, fight back in an epic battle for the fate of Pandora. Now, you know, when we got out of the way, I think it's an obvious choice to bring in to discuss the film first of all. It came out in 2009, so for first impressions, I think we should go to the person who's going to remember it best, the oldest member of the podcast. Stuart, what was your first impression of Avatar in 2009? Can you remember that long?
No. Oh, yes and no. I remember going to see it in the cinema, and I remember having a fairly good time. Like, I don't think it was a bad movie. I think I actually enjoyed it, and then I don't think I'd seen it since until we then, I don't know why we decided to watch this for the podcast, but we were like, oh, we'll watch it again. Thankfully, it's on Disney Plus, so I was able to set a day aside for that, and I couldn't remember a bloody thing about this movie. I couldn't remember a single thing, and to be honest, I saw it yesterday and I still can't.
That's crazy. I actually think that it's quite memorable. I found myself thinking about it. Like, I quite like, one of the main things that I look for in a movie is like the story, and you know, if a movie has you thinking about it for the next few days, I always think that's good. And I've actually found myself thinking about Avatar. I watched it for the first time at the weekend, just there on Sunday, and I think I've thought about it every day since. So I'm surprised that you can't remember a thing even from watching it a couple of days ago.
Well,
I think it's one of those movies. Sorry.
It's okay. Here you go.
I was just gonna say, I think it's one of those movies that if you've seen it like for the first time, you are kind of in awe of it. But I think it's really a movie that only kind of hits you that way once, like the first time you see it, and then after that, I mean, I've never really had a reason to go back and watch it other than this episode, and it didn't sit with me well the second time, I'm afraid.
Well, Rhys, word for word, you stole my segue, because I was literally going to come to you next and talk about how you hadn't seen it and before you watched it for this. Well, you've listed your first impressions. I mean, have you got anything else to add on that when you first seen the film? When you were watching the film? What were your takeaways just while you're watching?
Well, when I was watching it, obviously it's 2 hours and 42 minutes long. It's a long movie. So I had in my head, like, I always try to work out where the movie's going to take me, and all I knew about Avatar was a guy fricks an alien and he simps for it. And that was pretty much all of the critique I've heard of Avatar. So I didn't really know what the actual story was. And I was just thinking it was going to be like a Brain v. Brawn kind of movie, and it was going to be the plucky underdog that brings everyone together, and I was just thinking it was going to be pretty rubbish. So I was surprised when the storyline that it actually did take, and I was more than pleased with it.
No, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And Rhys mentioned it briefly there, Jack. We've actually spoke about it the other day as well. The length of the film, did that stop you enjoying it? Did it keep your attention throughout, or do you think the length is something that put you off?
I think before I get on to that, I'm just going to give yourself a congratulations, Adam, for actually being able to give a synopsis. It's not over 10 minutes of something like this, as in your previous pitches. So it's deserved, to be fair. I think it is deserved. And with what you were saying, I didn't go see this in the cinema, so I don't know. My first time watching it was in DVD at home, and I don't know if watching it at home made it feel longer than what it actually was. Like, if I was in the cinema, maybe I'd be more engrossed into what was happening, but watching it at home, I just felt as if the clock was ticking so slowly when watching this movie, and it wasn't ending. I kind of still felt that the second time round, but still I appreciated the movie more. Like, I get why it's so long, the necessity of the movie being long is there, but it's just, overall, it's just a bit of a drag for me.
Yeah, I understand that. When I watched it, I kind of felt the same thing. One of the things that puts you off at a film is that if you know it's really long, you know you've got to set aside an evening for it. And it's not like when you watch a film, sometimes, you're in a mood for a film, you're just stick one on, maybe it's like just before you go to bed. You couldn't stick that on just before you went to bed. Because you'd be, I know you definitely couldn't, Jack. You'd be up till all hours. You're not a.
Mate, I'd be up past 11 o'clock.
Oh my god!
Outrageous.
How dare you?
I do remember seeing it at the cinema, and I have to say I do remember it dragging on a bit. But I was also younger, so I don't know if maybe it was my attention span. But it feels like a long film. But I have to say, when you watch it, you don't think it, but it doesn't pass particularly fast, I would say. I think we'll go and move on to some of the themes in Avatar. One of the major themes is traveling to a foreign, seemingly uncivilized land from a major developed one. Someone did the reverse of that, Lewis. What was it like coming from Shetland to Glasgow?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I'm going to put it out there. Right. Right, I asked Adam, why are you so keen to host the Avatar one? He said, because I wrote this joke for Lewis, and I've been waiting for it. I've been sitting waiting for it, and this is it. It lived up to the hype, to be fair.
Thank you.
Well, I imagine much like the experience of the Na'vi when I got here, man, it was war everywhere. There was guns, there was unobtainium in the ground. I just couldn't survive. I struggled. No. Sorry, in case listeners don't know, I'm actually sick at the moment, so hopefully I don't have COVID. But if you hear coughing,
the Sky people have poisoned him.
Yeah, that napalm's giving me bad lungs. Yeah, I'm a World War II vet.
But if we'll go serious, I think the theme of being in a strange land it's one of the themes that's going somewhere unusual. How do you think it comes across in the film, Lewis?
Well, much like others, I watched this years ago, so like my memory of it wasn't the greatest. And when I watched it, I was like, right, okay, I can see a lot of the themes going on. But I want to kind of contextualize a little bit. And obviously, the movie came out, what was it, 2008? I don't know if someone was
nine.
I mean, at this point, you can really see the themes of the Iraq War taking place in the movie. And I know a lot of people made the comparison to even to World War II. So there is definitely an underlying sort of us-them narrative. And I think, there was some reviews that complained about the left-wing ideology or even, the political tones that it sent. But me watching that film, if you have an issue with the story narrative being provided in such a way to outline that, hey, if you go to a land and kill people and steal their stuff, then that somehow is not a bad thing, then that's your own internal moral problem, and it's not a problem with the film.
Yeah. Well, I think there's someone here who wants to talk about the serious themes in Avatar, things that you mentioned. You briefly mentioned them, colonization, capitalism. Rhys, I'm hoping Lewis didn't take anything away from what you had to say. You want to talk me through some of the themes that you picked out?
Well, much the same. It's a lot of African tribes have actually come out and said this is a very true story and it's very real to them. And I'm really not a big fan of capitalism in general. They go over to the Avatar's planet and they need to get the unobtainium. It's because it's worth billions of pounds over on Earth, so they're willing to murder a whole civilization just to get what they want. And it's a very real story. There's words in there that they use as well, like savages and monkeys, and they use savages loads throughout the whole film, even though they've done absolutely nothing wrong and nothing bad to them whatsoever. The humans obviously keep referring to them as savages, which is obviously similar to, I don't want to get too political here, but it's similar to words that Winston Churchill would once say. But I actually thought the film was quite clever in making them aliens, the Avatar planet. I actually can't remember what it's called. I have no interest in learning. Thank you. But because I don't know if anyone here has ever seen BoJack Horseman.
Yes.
Yes. So the creator of that, Raphael Bob Waxberg, he said that he deliberately made the characters half human and some of the characters human and some of the characters animals. And he said the reason he did that is because the show touches on such serious topics and themes that it would be more relatable if they were animals, because your defense is less up when you're not taking it as serious. And I thought it was clever to do that for this film as well, because if they'd made the Avatar planet people of Pandora, if they'd made them Africans, that film doesn't do half as well. It's people don't watch it. They go, I don't want to get involved in that. I don't believe it. It's not true. It's unrealistic. So when they actually do it with the aliens, it becomes like a different story, and you're like, wow, how could they be so bad? It's actually just a tale of greed and capitalism ruining beautiful economies, or not the economy, but beautiful places.
It's a tree economy.
Just for nothing other than monetary gain, and it's sickly. And I was very surprised by that's the way that the movie went, and I was very happy with that's the way it went as well.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that when I was younger, I certainly didn't appreciate the themes. Yeah, absolutely, especially because it fits so many themes in there. We've not even mentioned things like deforestation, which obviously a key theme. And you're right, they really pack it all in there quite subtly. And I think we see a lot of changes as well in the characters, and that's Jake is, without doubt, it's the biggest change we see in him. We follow his story throughout the film, and he changes from being a Marine. He just follows orders with no real sympathy for the Navy. In some way, he's got a deep connection. Eventually, he feels at home there, and even becomes one of the people. Spoiler, but you hopefully have seen the film. Jack, did you feel invested in the character development of Jake? Did you want to follow his story?
No, to be honest, I didn't really care. I think it could have been any character. I don't think I would have cared.
Yeah.
It's like I get the whole thing about it, because obviously his brother was like one of the best Marine folks there, and he's had to go and fill in his shoes as like the kind of closest blood relative. But I say fill in his shoes figuratively, because he can't walk and he's on a wheelchair. And,
Wow, highbrow.
Oh, that's us cancelled.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was getting on to my point, because the whole point they can use him to get as part of the Navy and the wee machine thing that you go into when they put you to sleep and whatever, then the brain waves and all that, and you go into this kind of big dead Navy like zombie thing.
You're really selling it.
Yeah.
I'm gripped now.
Yeah, is it science? Is it science we did at university? Because it sounds like you've got a lot of technical words there.
Social sciences, that's technical enough.
Whoa, what the hell?
But I mean, like, even if it was the bigger brother that the movie been following, I still don't think I would have cared.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something if I had a complaint about the film, it was that the protagonist, he does feel a bit bland at times. Although I think you maybe feel more for him later on. I think that's more for his connections with the other characters rather than something that he's putting across himself. One of the things I remember when I was younger was hype. This is probably when I was younger the most hype film I think that came out, and it was mostly for the special effects. I remember watching all the specials, and we thought this is like, never seen before special effects. And I came out, I seen it in 3D as well. I never really like seeing films in 3D, so maybe that took away from my enjoyment of it. Stuart, you've seen a lot of films, and do you feel like the look and the special effects, do you think they hold up today?
Yeah, they do. The special effects are really I think we're kind of reaching that point, kind of late 2000s, where the special effects are a bit longer lasting. Then you look to the Star Wars prequels and everything, they're really dated now. But I think technology's progressed a lot, that so much time is invested in this movie. It's a very nice looking film. It looks spectacular. They've really invested the money into the special effects. I get what other people are saying. A lot of people have said of what stuff that I would like to bring in. I feel a bit like Dr. Grace when Colonel Quaritch was spying on her research. Adam. A lot
Do you have a list of character names in front of you, Stuart?
No. I feel like a lot of what I noted to say has already been said. But yeah, the special effects, they are incredible. I will give it that. It's a very nice looking film, especially the wildlife. I feel like that's where the biggest enjoyment I took from my rewatch of the film was all the creativity of Pandora's fauna and flora. I really liked it because they are very unique designs, and it's not something that you think that they've just picked up from Earth and just planted it on this CGI planet. It looks like they've taken time to design every facet of this world and make it all interlink. So the special effects are really good. I will give it that. And even the militaristic look. I was speaking to one of my friends about how we had to do Avatar for this podcast, and he actually said that it always reminds him of Halo, the super sci-fi militaristic look of the humans.
That, yeah.
But it does look nice. It's a shame that a lot of it is really just kind of all style, no substance at times for me.
Yeah.
What I found quite surprising as well is obviously I think most of us watched this on Disney Plus, and obviously the movie was first designed for 3D technology when that was first becoming a thing, as we've all alluded to, and even on the port over on a TV, it still looks good. The only thing I will say is that on some of the wide and more panoramic shots, you can see the layers of the actual 3D imaging which they've tried to use. So some of the port over to this Disney Plus, some of the shots don't quite hold up, but the color contrast between the two of them, like Stuart said, is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a bright, colourful film. Absolutely, and it grabs me. I think we'll go to Rhys for this because obviously your first question. I know you really enjoyed the film, Rhys, but if you had a fatal flaw for the film or something that really bothered you or that you disliked about the film, what would it be?
Oh, well, I don't want to tease my pitch too much. So, my thing that I didn't enjoy the most. Oh, it's really hard because I've got two, but one's my pitch and one's my backup pitch. I liked the characters, but I didn't feel, as Jack said, I wasn't emotionally invested in the characters.
Right,
I was
okay.
more invested in the people of Pandora than I was of anyone else. So even like when they were not welcoming to Jake, I was kind of still more warm to them, and I think that kind of shows with my dislike towards capitalism and the war hungriness and stuff like that. So it kind of, I think probably the character development is apart from the character development of Jake, the character development of everyone else is a bit just weak and a bit lazy, I would almost say.
Yeah, okay. I think that's fair. I think we've discussed the film, fair enough detail here. If Rhys is starting to get in his pitch, I'm worried everyone else, that we run out of notes here, we're going to start leaking our pitches if asking any more questions. Resounding response.
There wasn't a question.
There wasn't a
That was
question.
statement.
I did. I said if are we gonna start leaking our pitches if asking more questions?
No, you said we are going to start leaking our pitches.
No, I said,
what were I say that?
Listeners, write in and say what I said.
Ed, just put up subtitles.
Now I know how Norm felt when he was
Subtitles on an
trying
audio
to save
podcast.
Jake Sully from the Avatar machine, but those soldiers were stopping him.
And Joe, I'll tell you, one thing that annoyed me about it was he says, "What's your name?" And he says, "I'm Jake Sully." And then he goes, "Well, Jake Sully." And I'm like, well, how? It's not like he's written it down and you've mispronounced it. He's just told you what his name is. I was so angry.
I wonder why in this movie they had to have the connection with the tails. Like, why was it the tails? Wonder what went through his head to make them a thing, make them appear together. Let's connect their tails.
Well, the whole planet's interlinked with their goddess Ewa, and like it's all shared energy. That was kind of
specifically the tail.
Yeah,
he understands the concept, but he's like, why the tail? Why couldn't they kiss?
Because they knew Disney was going to
yeah.
buy the rights to the movie, and it couldn't be like the guy's dick he's sticking in the trees and everything.
Okay.
Moving on.
Right, okay. Well, I think we're going a bit off the rails here, so why don't we move on to the pitches? Lewis, would you like to start us off? What's your big pitch?
Oh, well, I was anticipating going first, so I get the pick of the litter. I'm sorry, Rhys. If I encroach on Rhys's number one pitch, then he can just have it, because if I'm honest, I actually enjoyed the movie, and I don't really have a very big, strong pitch, but if I did think
it's me and Stewart that said before this, we only have one pitch because we were struggling, but Rhys has got two, and you're letting him have one.
Jack
because-
came up with this morning.
I only came up with mine this morning.
Sorry,
Mate,
Lewis, I put in effort. I'll be upset.
we obviously have a brief conversation about this, and when I was talking about the film, Rhys was telling me to shut up because I was encroaching on his pitch. And if Jack is right in saying I came up with it this morning, if this morning was 20 minutes ago. So I'm really struggling.
As you can see, listeners, we put a lot of effort into making this great content for you.
But I want to be absolutely clear, it's not because I can't think of anything, it's because I genuinely enjoyed the movie, and my only critique of it was that, one, it's a bit too long, and two, I don't feel like I had any sort of connection with the story. I was there for the ride, but I don't think I particularly was really ingrained with the characters. Now, I watched the edited version, so if me, a halfwit from Shetland living in Glasgow, can't figure out a way to edit down an already edited film, then I can't really make that my pitch. So my big pitch for this film would be to add some sort of suspense at the middle of the film before the start of the third act. So that suspense could take place in any sort of way, but the one that came to my head would be maybe they take the avatars away from Jake and the other gentleman whose name I forget, and they add some sort of suspense of them trying to get back to the avatar bodies and go and link up back with the Na'vi and maybe create a bit more of a duality between the two, and add the suspense of trying to get back into those bodies again. Aside from that, it's not a perfect film, but I generally liked it, so I can't really come up with a big pitch aside from that Hail Mary, and hopefully I didn't encroach on Rhys there.
Well, I hope not. Rhys, you're the last week's big picture. I'll let you defend your title here, just because I know you hate when people encroach on your ideas. So why don't you take away what you got for us?
Well, unlike Lewis, I actually quite enjoyed the story, but like everyone else, it's the length that is the big issue, and I felt like it would be cheap just to say make it shorter. So I've got an actual end to the film that comes in. So halfway through the film, it's just about 2 hours in, they destroy the tree deity. We all know that it's a very powerful scene. And the screen gets overcome with like a dark, fiery smoke, and the protagonist says, "I was a soldier who thought I could bring peace, but I was wrong." Something like that. I think the film should end at this point because like a grey smoke comes over the screen. It kind of goes black and white, and it fades to silence, and then you can still see the screaming, but obviously you can't hear it. But I think it's more powerful when it does it like that. So the film is an hour long after that, like the actual film, and it shows the good always wins. So it kind of tries to portray like the Vietnam War, where like the Vietnamese obviously won when America went over there and attacked them for capitalist reasons again. But if it showed more of a true representation of the greed of capitalism, and the effect it has on like African tribes and stuff like that, ending at that point would have been a perfect portrayal of a very dark and serious issue. And it shows that if it ended at that scene, it would have portrayed the brutal reality of capitalism in a war-hungry America, and obviously not just America, UK, Israel, France, and so on. So my pitch is essentially making the film an hour shorter for the true dramatization of a very serious issue, and that the good doesn't always win.
That's dark, but doesn't have to be a happy end. You're right. It is more realistic, a dark ending to the film. Well, Jack, you got a well-prepared pitch to follow that up?
Well prepared. I don't know, but my pitch, obviously, precursor to what I'm going to say. I asked how you pronounced unobtainium this morning on the group chat because I for some reason I watched the movie a couple of days ago and I just forgot. I thought it was unobtainium, but calling me stupid.
Unobtainium.
But that's kind of got. That's kind of got something to do with my pitch. I just wouldn't have unobtainium being the reason that the humans go to Pandora itself. I'd make the reason that the military and all that they go to Pandora is because they want to connect with the world of Pandora and the Na'vi themselves. They don't want to go and mine their resources. They want to learn more about the race and the planet itself. And I make it so that they want to be able to use the Na'vi as a way of coming back to Earth, in a sense, to use them as kind of super warrior soldiers. I know that kind of, the hint of that I want to use them at some point in the movie, but I'd want that set from the get-go, and that like Jake would be like the undercover, see how they function, how we can get them back over, but then that's where his allegiance changes and whatnot. So I guess I'm not going to go and explain anymore because I think I'm just going to go confuse myself. But what I want is unobtainium gone, and the reason that they go to Pandora as the first place is to recruit the Na'vi in a sense.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, they are quite a war-driven people. I think at times the fact that they respect him as a warrior, I guess I could play if Sute could be someone who's quite for that, but don't want to. I'm not here to pitch your idea. I'm going to add thing onto it, right? Last but not least, Stuart, what have you got?
I just want to say that I love that it's just called unobtainium, that they're all there. I just love the name of it. It's so stupid. So we started this before we started recording. We're all having a conversation about how everybody else in the podcast hates that it's called unobtainium, and here's me sitting in the back saying I love that. I mean, I feel like Sute when Jake Sully came into the clan and everyone was on his side, and I'm like, whoa, what about me? What about old Sute? I like unobtainium. I think it's a good name. Oh man, the biggest problem I have with this movie is it feels like it belongs in the 80s. It feels like it's a perfect 80s movie. Like the writing and like the themes are like they can kind of transcend, like obviously very relevant today. But I feel like justified in thinking this because as I read up on Avatar, it turns out that James Cameron wrote this ages ago, but he didn't have the technology to actually film it until in the 2000s. So I feel like he didn't touch his draft at all until later and was like, well, it's still good. People love 80s movies then, they'll love them now. But I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's, the dialogue I can live with, but what I cannot stand the lead actor, Sam Worthington. He is absolutely terrible in this movie. He is so bad. He is absolutely catastrophic. It's some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. The first half of this movie, he's like the kind of focal point because you're with him. He's like the audience's window. He's doing all these logs, and there's like no emotion from him. He's just a terrible actor. Like he gives nothing to his lines at all. And I'm just like, why did they go with this guy? I feel like if it was a good actor, I'd be more engrossed. I'd be with him. I'd be like, I'm sure like if they emoted better, and even stuff like dealing with his disability, I feel like a better actor could subtly run with that. So my big pitch is put a better actor in the lead role because, as Lewis said, I don't know where you can trim this movie down.
Right,
I honestly
Stuart,
don't.
You've got it, right? You've got a pitch, right? You can get my vote if you name the actor.
Yeah, I was just about to say, give me an actor.
I'm glad you asked because see, when I was like, right, okay, I was thinking of like someone with mocap, but mocap's really kind of big in the past 10 years as opposed to like Avatar kind of set the ball running. So I googled the top actors of 2009.
Bit of a cheat, but I'll let you away with it.
Well, I wanted to be relevant, I wanted to be relevant. And, they had the usual, you had Brad Pitt and George Clooney and everything. Matt Damon was there, and I thought, oh, Matt Damon, maybe. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I found him. Shia LaBeouf is starring in 2009's Avatar movie.
No way! You've lost my vote.
Yeah, no, because
off the
Shia
back of the
LaBeouf,
greatest movie of all time, Transformers.
Exactly. He is
stock was never higher.
Exactly. Stock's never higher. He's not had his meltdown yet. Whether that makes him a better actor now, I don't know. But I feel like he'd be able to give more, especially that kind of outcast that they're looking for in Avatar, because Jake Sully doesn't relate to anybody. He relates to the military, but only in a past sense, because a lot of the soldiers write him off because he's in a wheelchair immediately. He doesn't relate to the science people because that was never his life. His brother was the scientist, not him. And he doesn't relate to the Na'vi people because he's not one of them. So I feel like Shia LaBeouf, if anything, he plays that outcast really, really well. And that's who I would put in for Avatar.
Shia LaBeouf goes to Pandora to get Bumblebee's voice back.
There we go. That's what the two sequels are about.
It's interesting. I feel Shia LaBeouf as well as a younger actor, so you maybe feel like it's where Sam Worthington, I think, comes across as like when he's playing him as always like a bitter, like he's a bit like Lieutenant Dan at times from Forrest Gump. A wee bit without the talent. I didn't ask anyone to vote yet, but I have got a vote in.
I'm just voting up. Not Stuart.
Right, I'll just read out the topics again. So we've got Lewis's pitch of taking away the Avatar bodies midway through. Yeah, fair enough.
Kind of. Just add a reason in suspense in the midpoint of the film to keep you interested.
We've got Rhys's end the film at the death of Iwa. A bit more of a climactic ending, darker. Yeah. Yeah. Jack's change the reason for going to Pandora, remove unobtainium, and make it the reason to recruit the Na'vi as warriors.
Yeah.
And we've got Stewart's, which is recast Sam Worthington as Shia LaBeouf.
Sam Worthington is Jai Courtney before he had Suicide Squad.
Ooh. I'm waiting on the decider, guys. I'm waiting on the decider.
The decider?
I've got waiting on one vote, and it is the deciding vote. I'm not going to tell you the odds. I don't want to influence the voter.
Do you know what we've not had yet? A three-way tie. That would be great.
Oh no, we don't have a three-way tie. What I can tell you is we have a back-to-back big picture champion, Rhys Cook, with 2 votes. You're the champion. Lewis and Jack have 1 vote each. Congratulations, Rhys. Thank
Stuart,
you.
I think you. Well, first of all, congratulations to me. Thank you. I'm going to say thanks for voting for me. I see in my head when I was watching it, I was like, Joe who would have been great at this role? Matt Damon. So I was giving you that opportunity, and you even said Matt Damon. I was like, yes, that is it. And then you went Shia LaBeouf, and it ruined it for me.
Yeah, obviously, I would have figured just to add to that, yeah, Matt Damon would have been great because you think of The Martian, and it's the same thing. It's audio logs. It's talking to the camera, and I think you would have been brilliant at. Well, unlucky Stuart, you didn't say it. It said Shia LaBeouf, which I've got to applaud the left wingness of the choice, and it's Rhys who is the champion. And well, I think that's about all we've got time for. And I want to say again, shout out the socials. You can find us at Instagram and Twitter at _thebigpicture. Find it on YouTube. Just search for the Big Picture Podcast. I'd like to say thanks to our this week's Big Picture, Rhys.
Oh, thanks. Very short episode this week. I mean, if only they could have done that the same for the film. But anyway, thanks for voting for me. And everyone vote for me at home.
And yeah, I look out for the people's vote, please, on Twitter. And I'd like to say thanks to Lewis for joining us.
No, I appreciate the time.
Thanks to Jack.
Cheers. And you're talking about the vote. You didn't even talk about what the poll was about this week's episode, what the fans thought.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
I
was
people
thinking
Why
that
has
as
this
well.
happened again? Why has this happened again? I literally said it.
Oh, I was also thinking that, Jack. So
Yeah,
I definitely
so
don't remember you saying it.
I said Stuart.
I don't listen to what you
Stuart.
say.
I said, well, that's the problem, isn't it? I said to Stuart when I introduced him, I was like, the people's champion.
No,
No,
I
we're
mean
talking about the
the
Avatar
poll
poll.
to do with the
Oh,
episode.
that. Right, okay. That makes
Goodness.
sense.
What a
Well,
terrible post you are,
This
Adam.
yeah.
eh?
is the Adams episode.
Adam Bakevich doesn't care about the fans of the Big Picture Podcast. That's what I get from this.
And we did a Twitter vote. Again, find us on Twitter, please. Yeah, at _the big picture. And we asked you if you thought Avatar was a good movie, a meh movie, or a bad movie. 25% thought it was meh, 30% thought it was bad, 45% thought it was good. So the fans have had their vote in the film as well. They all think it was good. I think we all enjoyed it here, apart from maybe Stuart.
Jack.
Jack, you didn't really like it that much either, but I did quite enjoy it, although it did drag on a wee bit. I think we all enjoyed it. And I would say thanks to Stuart, because I'm not saying thanks to him yet. Stuart, thank you.
Well, hang on, Adam. I'm on the phone. Hi, Shia. No, they didn't go for it. It doesn't matter. No, Matt Damon, yeah.
Ask him why Megan Fox went away.
Jack asked why Megan Fox went away.
I stopped watching after that.
He says she had weird toes.
I wouldn't mind them.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, I had good hosting. This movie is awful. I don't want to ever see it again. I certainly don't want to see the 2 sequels. How else? What are they going to do with it? He says it's going to be Avatar underwater. I don't know how that works. Their tails will get all wet.
I'm pretty sure it was you that was like, you pitched this in the group chat twice. Like a couple of weeks ago we were going to do it, but I hadn't seen it. And then you pitched it again. Oh, we'll do Avatar this time. And I was like, well, it must be good.
I never. It was Adam that wanted to do this.
Well, the second time it was definitely me.
Well, fair enough.
First time I think I don't remember who pitched it.
So let's
but
circle back. The only reason you really want to do this episode was to make a joke of the fact that I came from Shetland.
Maybe. But I really enjoyed the episode, guys. Thanks for everyone coming along. We're out of time. Thanks for listening, guys. See you later. Goodbye.